afternoon. We are Group 11, and this is our second task about the exploration of the links between language theory and EFL teaching practice.
Phonetics. Phonetics is a branch of linguistics that studies how we make and perceive the sound. It is divided into three subfields: acoustic phonetics, auditory phonetics, articulatory phonetics. The auditory phonetics is in charge of studying on how we perceive and understand the sounds. Articulatory phonetics studies how the vocal tract can produce the sound, and acoustics study the physical properties.
The second one is phonology. This is pattern rules in language. This is the basis for further work in morphology, syntax, discourse, and orthography design. The pattern in one particular language as phonemes, that is the mental representation about meanings, and allophones, that is the sound. According to Akmayan, phonology is the subfield of linguistics that studies the structure and systematic patterning of sounds in human language.
The third one, morphology, is the study of the internal structure of words and forms, a core part of linguistic study today.
The next one is syntax. The rules of syntax combine words into phrases and phrases into sentences. They also describe the relationship between the meaning of a group of words and the arrangement of the words.
Now we are going to start with the activities. The first one is about phonetics. This activity will be executed in a cuarto medio class, and it will focus on the speaking skills regarding distinction and awareness of consonant sounds and its different places of articulation, voicing, and manner. The objective of this activity is for students to develop knowledge about pronunciation. The steps are: first, the teacher is going to pronounce words related with the topic that they have been studying. The second is the students should repeat what the teacher said. Next, the teacher will demonstrate the right place of articulation of each word. And finally, the teacher will arbitrarily ask a student to repeat any of the words studied.
The phonology activity is an tercero básico class. Students will have to identify the differentiation of sounds between two words represented in a guide in reading and round form and the stress of each one. This activity will help students to develop their listening skills. The idea of this activity is to see if students are capable to differentiate between sounds and distinguish plural endings. At the end of the activity, the teacher will give feedback. The steps are the teacher is going to give the students a guide with draws and words for students. The teacher will read each pair of words. Students will listen differences between each pair of words, as example, catcher and catcher. Individually, with a color pencil, students will mark where is the difference between the words. After this, the teacher will repeat the list of words and students have to identify the stress of the words. Meanwhile, students with another color will mark the stress of each word. At the end of the activity, the teacher will ask who wants to share the answers. After that, we'll give the correct answers and explain it.
This morphology activity, this activity will be realized in a segundo medio and will be focused on their writing skills. The idea of this activity is to see if students are capable of distinguishing between the components of the words and if there are simple or complex words. After the activity, the teacher will give feedback. The steps to follow are: first one, teachers will write sentences that contain complex words, providing one example for students and explain each part of the word. Unfriendly, for example, which contains three parts. Unfriendly, in which un is a prefix which means not, the antonym of the word selected. Friend, a person with you have mutual affection, and li, a suffix which means like. This activity must be realized without a dictionary, so they need to explain the meaning in their own words. Individually, students should have to separate a set of words and write the type and the meaning of each word. And finally, the teacher will ask who wants to share their answer.
Our last activity for syntax is the next. In Guide, students of Octavo Básico will have a set of words disorganized which together can conform a sentence as a question, affirmation, or negation. Finally, at the end of the activity, students will identify the type of words that the sentence as a simple subject auxiliary verb between other. With this activity, students will be able to understand the correct structure of a sentence and identify each aspect of this. The steps to follow are the next. First, the teacher will provide a guide with a different set of words to students and explain that each set corresponds to a sentence disorganized. Students will identify if the sentence is a question, affirmation, or negation. After that, students will identify the message of the sentence and order each word in the appropriate place. The teacher will give the solutions of each exercise. The students who have incorrect answers have to identify why they commit their mistakes and by themselves or with the help of the teacher or other students will fix those. At the end, students together will identify each part of the sentence, the subject, auxiliary verb, and complement. Example.
In this section, we're going to have a discussion about a critical analysis of these issues in the presented IPL learning activities.
The organization. Well, we have two main topics in which we choose two main issues about this. The first one are in phonetics, that are articulatory phonetics and categorization of consonant sounds. In phonology, the plural rules and importance of stress. In morphology, the simple words and complex words, as well as component words as suffix and prefix. And the last one in syntax are the classes of words and grammatical organization of words in sentences, the sentences structure.
The first selected issue is for phonetics. The first issue is about articulatory. Argatisiga is the vocal tract is comprised of all the parts of the body that are used to integration of speech sounds, from the abdominal muscles that contract to push air out of the lungs, to the lips and nostrils from which the sound emerges. Students need to be aware of the place of articulation in the vocal tract of consonant. The second one is about auditory. Here, Argatisiga is that the English system is not totally chaotic. Various roles can be used to figure out whether the C should be hard or soft. For example, and it can be useful to have different spellings for words that sound the same. Categorization of consonant and sound. Students must be aware of the extension of the sound and consonant, if they are plosive, fricative, affricative, semivowels, nasals, and on the voicing of consonant voiced and voiceless.
Well, the activity regarding this topic may fail because students don't have enough interest to learn about English and its multiple possibilities regarding pronunciation or articulation of sound, etc.
This activity may success only if it is implemented for students on a higher grade that are interested in learning this, such as English pedagogy students or English literature students. Also, it can success if the school wants their students to become bilingual and learning English deeply is prior and mandatory for them.
The issues regarding phonology are the next ones. The first one is about plural rules. And Akmayan says, it has been argued that the basic shape of the plural morpheme is Z, and that all variations are due to phonological rules of English. Spanish and English have different rules for the use of the plurals. For this reason, Spanish speakers tend to get confused. So as teachers, it is fundamental to teach about the rules that govern the language so students are going to have better fluency. The second issue is about the importance of stress. To differ in loudness because of their position in food structure. The syllables of an English word differ in pitch, a perception based on the frequency of the vibrations of the vocal cords. Consider the pair insult, noun, and insult, verb. It is important to learn about this rule since it is going to help students to be more fluent in the language.
This activity might fail because since they lack knowledge, they are not going to understand the difference between sounds because they are very similar.
On the other hand, this activity may succeed because it only works if language Spanish teaches them stress in words because it is the first approach to this since the stress in both languages is similar. Issues the issues regarding morphology are the following. Component of words. According to Fasol, most of the words languages use some kind of affixing to indicate grammatical information about a word or its relation to other words. An affix is a grammatical morpheme which, by definition, must be bound to a root or to another affix. The other issue is simple word and complex word. Simple words consist of a single morpheme. Complex words consist of more than one morpheme. For example, cat is a simple word compared with cat, which contains two morphemes, the noun cat plus a plural marker s.
This activity might fail because students are not aware of the component of words, such as morphemes. They do not recognize the meaning and use that sometimes types of morphemes possess. For example, suffixes, prefixes, lexemes, and others.
This activity may success because some of the prefix or suffix are similar to the native language, in this case, Spanish.
Well, in syntax, we have also two issues in which we delete the classes of words. And as Akmajan explains, no matter how free a language is with respect to word order, it will inevitably have some word order constraints. See exercise 11. Furthermore, in many languages, the linear order of words plays a crucial role in determining the meaning of sentences. As well, the second issue is the grammatical organization of words in sentences, that is, the sentence structure. If we adopt the hypothesis that sentences are unstructured strings of words, then almost immediately we must add an important qualification. One of the first things we notice about the sentences of human languages is that the words in a sentence occur in a certain linear order.
The activity regarding this topic may fail because this activity, most of the time, students are now not aware of this kind of content. They could know about it, but not as much as they are expected to know to achieve the activity.
This activity may success because they are related with this kind of content. Besides, they are used to hear these sentences since the teacher use them or they could hear them in TV shows or video games.
In conclusion, we think that it's really important to understand as future teachers that every activity may not work because in a classroom in Chile, there are many students that not are well prepared for some of the topics that we saw recently. Therefore, there is not a single activity which has success totally. So, A teacher has to try to integrate and include different skills and different pedagogical activities in different activities to ensure the learning for more number of students. Besides, teachers should consider the different contexts in which children interact and how they may react, acquire, and understand the content of the class.